It's pretty exciting. You've looked at your honey supers, you've got some frames ready to harvest, but how do you harvest those frames? There's 5 common ways. One I like more than the rest. Okay, maybe 2. Let's get into it. One way is to use something like this. This is called a conical bee escape. You put this underneath your honey super, and so the bees go in these little holes here. But if you notice here, they really can't go through these little conicals to go back in. They just don't want to walk in small holes. This is kind of a bee escape method to get the bees out of that top honey super. And secondly, a similar one is a Porter bee escape. Now the Porter bee escape is kind of funny for me. It's been around since the late 1800s. It's been modified. This is a double hole one. It's been made into plastic. Around maybe late 1980s, it became a plastic one. And a lot of the inner covers have a spot here to insert this. Now it's funny for me though, because as you can see, this man lake inner cover, when I try to put the bee escape in it, it doesn't fit. This hole isn't big enough. So I have to take my utility knife, do a lot of carving to make this actually fit in here. Now look how it's supposed to work. This is actually made so that if I take it apart, you can actually see that there's 2 pieces of plastic legs in here, these little pieces that spread out for the bee to walk out, but then the bee cannot walk back into it. And so as you put it in your inner cover, underneath your honey super, what happens is the bees can go through the hole to get out, and they will. And so they will actually walk through the hole to get out, and they'll get out through the bottom, but they won't be able to get back in because they can't walk through those 2 pieces of plastic. Now there's some problems with these first 2 methods. The biggest problem is they don't always work if you have a little bit of brood up there, because the bees won't leave the brood, they'll stay up there. If you're not using a queen excluder, not uncommon to have a little bit of brood in the center frames, so the bees just won't leave. The second thing that's kind of a problem is, if you do get all the bees to leave the super going through these different kinds of bee escapes, what happens is that's a whole area for a small hive beetle to ravish those honey supers, because no bees can go up there and defend it and run them off to a corner or something. So I really don't suggest these methods anymore now that we have to wrestle with small hive beetle. Now the third way that's pretty common, and this is kind of split up in 2 ways now, but let's just call it one, and that's a solution that smells bad. Now we all know about bee robber. It's butyric acid, and it smells like vomit. That's what butyric acid is in your stomach. And so we found a way to synthetically create that smell that's just horrible. And so you can put that on a towel and lay it on top of your super, maybe put like a fume board, put a little bit on a fume board, and all the bees hate that smell too, and they'll go down out of that super. And then the butyric acid, I suck it up into a little syringe with no needle, plastic tip. Now all you got to do, it may take 2 of these, you can kind of test it out, but then just start spraying it on here like this and let it soak in. Let it soak into the towel. If you want to, you can take your top cover upside down. You can do it like this, and you still have a little bit of room for the circulation of the air to pull the bad smell down into the hive. Now this product is actually called Honey Bandit, and it smells so good. I like it a lot. And actually, I think it works better than butyric acid does. I use this exclusively when I'm trying to get my bees out of my honey supers, and it works so well. I just spray a little bit on a towel or a rag, lay that rag on top of that super, maybe put my top cover down, upside down, covering half of the box sideways so it doesn't cover the whole box, seal it off. Now take a look at how the bees are just completely gone out of this super. I mean, you might have some down in the bottom, but basically it just runs them all completely out. And they brag that this is the all-time best method for cleaning out honey supers of bees. So this is really good. It's called Honey Bandit. You can buy it at bee stores. I really like that. This is my number one go-to way, but it's number 3 on our list. The 4th way that I've done for a long time, and I'll show you how to do that, is simply take your bee brush and brush bees off. I'll tell you why I like brushing bees off my honey frames. Before I brush those bees off, I want to encourage you to please subscribe, because if you're getting value from this video in your beekeeping endeavors, I hope you'll subscribe, because I'm trying to help you make fewer mistakes and keep healthier bees. Now let's brush some bees. It's because if I don't have all my frames drawn out, maybe I've only got 6 or 7, all I have to do is brush the bees off 6 or 7. I don't have to take the entire box off. I can have some other frames ready to go in the absence of the ones I'm pulling out, and I just pull out some frames and I just gently brush the bees off. You've seen me do it with turkey feathers. That works really great to sweep bees off honey supers as well. And finally, the 5th method is one that I don't like at all, and it's been used by a lot of beekeepers, and that's just to bang the bees off. You just pick up the super and bang it on an upside down top cover and just keep banging it until the bees are jarred out of that super. Or I've seen it done the other way, where you take a frame of honey, and to get the bees off, you just smack it against the top of your hive, the top bars of your hive. I would not want to smash bees, so I'm going to use this edge here to see if I can shake them off. Yeah, it works pretty good, but you can see it does rile up the bees, all that clanging and banging. I don't like that either. That's just too much racket and noise to really get those bees fired up. So my 2 favorite ways really is to use the Bandit, the smell, to get the bees down and out of that super, or to use a bee brush to brush them off. Okay, I know that you're asking this question. How much honey should I take off? How much honey should I leave on? I know you want that answer. Made a video for you. Meet you over there. I've got this. I want to help you know how much money. Now it's almost